Welcome to Brotherhood of Healing, the podcast devoted to supporting veterans in health, resources, and in life after the uniform. Here we share inspiring stories, valuable information, practical advice to help our veterans thrive beyond their service. Whether you're seeking guidance, community, or simply want to hear from those who understand your journey, you're in the right place. Thank you for your service and welcome to the Brotherhood of Healing. Tying on target now. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Brotherhood of Healing. This is episode 9, and today we are going to talk about something that's near and dear to our hearts, and for us veterans, of course, and that is stolen valor. Today we're going to kind of talk about some of the things that occur in our society and what we can do about it, and what we should do about it. And of course, I have kind of an interesting anecdote that actually happened to me. And I think is going to be interesting, to say the least. So, no further ado. So stolen valor is any time that someone usurps their service, their military service, or a service member by wearing a uniform, a ribbon, an award, or something that they have not earned. And it turns out there's some consequences to this. I didn't know this, but apparently in 2005 there was that Stolen Valor Act that was put in place. It's not a felony, but it's definitely a crime to pretend you're something that you're not. And I've seen this in so many different layers of spectrum, where as innocent as um, you know, someone wearing a military hat and or somebody wearing a shirt that says Ranger, and they never been to Ranger school and what have you. These are, or to the point where you see somebody in full regalia, military regalia, and they have ribbons in the wrong place, and they have badges that are not correct. And of course, anybody who's been in the military, at least in the Army, we have a regulation called 670-1. That regulation tells us how to wear the proper wear of uniform and where how everything goes. So of course we spot that right away. Okay, but so there are some repercussions to stolen valor, and I think it's been going on for quite some time. However, in the last 10 years of war in Iraq and in Afghanistan, I think that brought up a lot more of this. And as long as there's secondary gain by wearing a uniform and pretending to be in the service, people getting free lunches or a cookie at such and such, and or just the attention. People going, oh, thank you for your service, and they shake your hand and they say something nice about you and your unit, and so on. But it's not until these guys get confronted by someone who's been in the military that it quickly goes south, right? And I can tell you that from a personal experience, I've seen this in a couple of instances where I was at a house party, some friends, and one of the guests there had a Ranger shirt on and a hat, and it said Third Bat on it. So, me being the Army guy, I went up there and tried to strike conversation with the guy, and I started talking about the Army and stuff like that, and I said, oh, well, when did you uh, serve? When were you a Ranger? Where were you at as a Ranger, and so on? And he couldn't give me specifics of anything, and I thought it was very strange. And I said, well, okay. And so then I asked him about things like just a common thing. Every Ranger. Now, I'm not a Ranger, so just let's clear that out. But I've been in the Army long enough to know that Rangers lead the way. Okay, I know that. And I asked him, I said, hey, well, who leads the way? And him, instead of saying Rangers do or we do or whatever, he just kind of looked at me with, I don't understand the question, like, okay, got it. Okay. I said, well, you, if you're not a Ranger, you should probably take that shirt off and probably take that hat off too, because it's not correct. Right. So his gain was clearly to impress people, right? People come up to him, and then he kind of gives them a rattle story about him. Now, has this guy ever served? I don't know. I was so pissed at the fact that he was doing this. I think that I kind of shut down emotionally, kind of like, okay, screw this guy, right? The guy's an idiot. But I think his secondary game was just that, the attention he was getting by wearing something like that, paramilitary something, and the same could be said about people who wear 11 Bravo clothing, or wear the Nine Line, or any of these paramilitary type of clothing that have some kind of saying. I mean, some people might feel that might be kind of a form of it, because it's sold to anybody. Problem is that I don't necessarily believe that. I feel that that is kind of, hey, you know what? It's kind of your way of celebrating the military, and being part of something that is greater than you, and that's fine too. But what I was going to get to was, um, you know, we kind of talked about a couple things already. So we talked about some of the legal aspects. We talked about the military and how it impacts us as military folks, right? Or veterans. We talked about detecting it. We know that as a military folks, if you have knowledge to detect, you have to have the fortitude to you know to what is it, knowledge to detect, fortitude to correct. That's what it is. And if you can, but there are things that you can do to help this process along. If you see someone who's wearing a uniform that is off, and yeah, just ask the questions, and you'll be surprised. Yeah, sometimes they're just ate up. They're in the guard, or they're in the National Guard, or they're in reserves, and they're just wearing the uniform a little bit jacked up, and they're just new, and they just don't understand certain things, and that's fine. But again, anybody who served any time in the military, we know that we like, the standards are what they are. This is why we have them. So we talked about that. So this story I'm going to tell you next is something that happened to me. Now, as you guys well know, I'm wearing the Wolfhound. This is a Wolfhound wall. This is a Wolfhound house. So I'm very proud of my service with 227th Infantry Battalion out of Schofield Barracks, Hawaii. As you know, I deployed with these guys, and they are near and dear to my heart. And Wolfhound credo is, once a Wolfhound, always a Wolfhound. And so I am wearing my Wolfhound shirt that has 2nd Battalion, 27th Infantry, and it had something in the back, and then in the front it has the cross rifles. Well, I'm at the Renaissance Fair here in near Globe, Arizona, and I'm with my in-laws, and my young son and my wife, and we're walking around watching all the craziness around us, with people dressed up in all kinds of weird outfits and stuff, and a lot of fun, right? And this guy comes up to me, and him and his girlfriend come up to me, and by the haircut, I could tell that he was enlisted, or he was in the military, or was affiliated somehow, right? And he comes up to me, he says, "Hey, I want you to ask you, can I ask you where you got that shirt?" I go, "Why is is that really what you wanted to ask me?" He goes, "Well, why are you wearing that shirt? That's what I wanted to ask you." I said, "Well, because it's mine." He was like, "Well, okay, but do you know what an 11 Bravo is?" And I'm like, "Okay, here we go. All right. Okay. So first of all, yes, I do know what an 11 Bravo is. Second of all, I take that you're in the military of some form." He goes, "Yeah, I'm in the Guard." I go, "Okay, well, not a problem. I have a lot of respect for my Guard soldier. My wife was in the Guard, and I have a lot of respect, especially in these last years of deployment, where they stepped up to the plate big time. Seriously, I have no issues with that whatsoever." And I said, "Okay, well, what is the highest rank you have attained in the Guard?" specialist. And I go, okay, well, there's nothing wrong with that. I was enlisted too. I was enlisted, and then I became a commissioned officer. And so I said, okay, well, all right. So I was a specialist. I made sergeant in 2 years, and I became a commissioned officer, and I retired as a major. And I know what you're getting at. You think that this is some form of somebody wearing something that they shouldn't be wearing, and it's a form of stolen valor. Am I correct? He goes, well, not so many words, yeah. And I go, okay, well, what you're saying, everything you're doing here is either to shock or impress your girlfriend here. So let me tell you something. I have BDUs and uniforms that are older than you. Okay, I served my country for 24 years. All right, and this at this point we're kind of going back and forth. And I says, and I do know what 11 Bravo is. You know why? Because I'm Doc, and I'm the person you call before God and before your mama when you're hurt. I promise you, when you have that precious red stuff leaking out of you, you're going to want me near you. And so at this point, the conversation kind of turned into kind of like back and forth. And I finally said, listen, I applaud what you're trying to do. I understand what you're trying to do, but you really need to kind of take a step back and be mindful that maybe, just maybe, you're 100% wrong. Just gotta be careful, right? I'm not wearing a uniform. I'm not wearing a Purple Heart ribbon. I'm not wearing anything like that I didn't earn. I'm just wearing a shirt that was given to me by my unit, uh, and it was one of these shirts that we all got for some kind of event. I can't remember. I think it was made for the Great Aloha Run, something like that. It was all for us to all be in uniform for this one event, and we all got it. So, so it's kind of interesting. We kind of ended up. I kind of talked to him a little bit about. We talked about the army for a little bit, and we chit chatted, and it ended well. I mean, but his efforts were not in vain. I get what he was trying to do, but he picked the wrong guy clearly. And this whole time that I'm talking to this guy, mind you, I'm in line to get a turkey leg. All right, I'm focused on that turkey leg. That's mine. I'm getting that turkey leg, and he's just talking. I'm like, okay, great. I have to deal with this now. So that's kind of some of the stuff that we've seen. There's just a couple examples of stolen valor. Of course, there's somebody on TikTok or Instagram that goes around and films people and has a whole like series of different people that they caught wearing the uniform and wearing their cover indoors inside a mall and stuff like that. They're easy to spot, right? Um, you know, the problem is the greater problem is that it's a big slap in the face to all of us who serve, right? The fact that if you never served, you never done anything, you never had the balls to step up to the plate, raise your hand to say, yes, I do, I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States, and go into the military and get deployed and do these sort of things. You know, don't don't try to usurp your you know, us with your uh, lack of morals, right? Because that is a morality thing, and it's sad. At the same time, it's also one of these things that is um, seen in society, and the average civilian does not know the difference. That's the problem, and they get away with so much. They get away with things like who knows, just a whole series of taking advantage of the kindness of certain people. Oh, hey, I just bought you lunch, thank you for your service, oh yeah, thank you, yeah, yeah, you know those kind of things. I mean, it's or worse. Sometimes people actually get like GoFundMe things, and they do. There's a lot of money that's being transferred into their hot little hands because of people thinking that this is a legit person that it has served and all this. Um, there's a countless fraud type of scenarios that this can fall into, right? Um, so those are some of the things I want to kind of chit chat about. I mean, the fact that it happened to me, I thought was pretty funny. At the time, I wasn't really sure what was happening. I kind of picked up, and I almost kind of right away what he was getting at, and because I did ask him, was this not really the question you wanted to ask me? Where did I get my shirt? Really? Anyway, so back to what we can do about it. Well, report it. There are several websites that you can reach out to, and they provide some help online. There's the Armed Forces Benefit Association, AFBA. They have a whole thing on stolen valor. Military.com. You can go. The Stolen Valor Act is a real. It's passed through Congress. It's a real crime to do this. And I would tell the person, I think everybody gets a second chance to do the right thing. It's kind of like, the Equalizer, right? You've seen the Equalizer movies with Denzel Washington, where he kind of tells you, goes, "This is the part where I give you a chance to do the right thing." I think everybody should do that. You go up to somebody and say, "Hey, listen, I can tell that by you wearing this type of uniform that you've never served." And I'm not to be, but I tell you right now, what you're doing is wrong. What you're doing is a slap in the face to all us veterans who served. And I think you need to take that off right away. And don't let me ever catch you wearing that again. End of story. And I think that's a good pass. That's a good way to just kind of say, okay, dude, you're wrong. Fix it. If let's say you catch him again, then now, okay, then I guess that'd be time to report him to somebody. And like I said, there are several organizations out there who, there's one organization itself that just handles Purple Hearts. And what these guys go around, they see guys with license plate with a Purple Heart or that what have you, and they will check you out. They will find out if you indeed earned a Purple Heart. And it goes same thing with the Congressional Medal of Honor and other things. So you can imagine those, just having those kind of things, walking around with some kind of medal like that. People just immediately, oh wow, because they don't know better. And just not to stray off the topic too much, but I've seen veterans that are so jacked up they don't even know that they served in the military. I can tell you of an anecdote that happened when I was riding with a veteran motorcycle club, and we would go around and look for folks who were homeless, that were veterans, and sometimes we're able to help them out with different things, mostly with clothing and blankets and things like that. And we ran into one guy who had on his arm, he had the Ranger Scroll. And I asked him, I said, when were you in, when were you in the military? And he just, his puzzled look, his TBI was so severe that he did not even realize. And for those of you not know what TBI is traumatic brain injury. And his so severe that at this point, his cognitive skills were so poor that he couldn't remember if he served or not. And it was the saddest thing I've ever seen. Clearly, the guy has a tattoo that says "Third Bat." Nobody is going to get a tattoo that hurts that damn much to pretend to be something. I can't imagine anybody doing that. And I'm covered with them. So, but at any rate, so stolen valor was the topic today. If you guys have any comments, questions about it, feel free to reach out. I'm happy to entertain any kind of thoughts and things like that we can always put in future shows and what have you. But at any rate, well, this is the end of my show. I just thank you much for your attention, and I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. And for those of us who live here in sunny Arizona, the weather's getting cooler, and stay safe out there, guys. Thank you for tuning in to Brotherhood of Healing. If you're hearing this message, you've listened to the entire episode, and for that we want to thank you from the bottom of our hearts. If you enjoyed today's episode, please take a moment and leave us a review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Your feedback helps us grow and bring you even better content. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you never miss an episode. Until next time, keep your powder dry and watch your six.